make for the 27th City Olympiad, an event held traditionally every 3.7 years, which this year has brought together competitors from over 4 million different countries. And here we are at the start of the first event of the afternoon, the second semi-final of the 100 yards for people with no sense of direction. Well, that was fun, wasn't it?
The starter pistol is fired, and the runners sprint off in different directions. And then next up is the 1,500 meters for the deaf. 1,500 meters for the deaf. The starter pistol is fired, and the runners stand still. Like Joe Biden, kind of like Joe Biden at events where he's supposed to be the president of the United States. Monty Python, they were funny. They're English people, but they're funny anyway. It's kind of unusual for English people to be funny, but they had a handful of them, and they were very, very funny. Good stuff. And they had the TV show before the movies came along, and it's I think it's all available thanks to Al Gore on his amazing internet. You can find it maybe even on your television at home with the YouTube and things. And Monty Python, the 100 yards for people with no sense of direction. Great stuff. And you couldn't do this today with the deaf. You got the 1,500 meters for the deaf. You have to be extremely hard of hearing or something like that. And the starter pistol is fired and they all stand still. And Monty Python did that as a joke and everybody laughed. But now the left has made sure that nothing is funny because they are so unfunny that they insist that everyone be unfunny with them. You must also be unfunny. You must also be an atheist. You must also be transgender. Oh, yeah, speaking of which, we have that doctor, and I mentioned this to Michael Piercy some time ago, a week ago or so. I say I was watching, it was the Fox News Channel, and they had a doctor on. He's a medical doctor, the kind that went to medical school, became a doctor, not like Jill Biden, who's not a doctor, is she? Most certainly is not. But this doctor was on the television, and they were talking about transgenderism, which is an ideology, which is why it has an ism after it. And this person, this doctor, and I know I wrote his name down here. It's right here somewhere. But he, Dr. Eric Cuban, but it's C-U-B-I-N, not like Cuban. But Dr. Eric Cuban, and he was on, I believe, with Laura Ingraham on the Fox News Channel, and they were talking about transgenderism and children, which is one of the Democrat Party's many sexual deviant obsessions, and he was asked, well, what is so a child says, a little girl says, I think I'm a little boy. And then the Democrats say, oh, good, come with me. And then they take them off to a closet somewhere or a park in Brooklyn or something. And because they're so creepy. And Dr. Cuban, who is a pediatrician and he deals with children, he said, he had a great analogy that I thought was wonderful and correct and apt and all of those positive things. He said, gosh, their children have all kinds of psychological issues that we have to deal with on occasions. But Dr. Cuban made this comparison when it comes to children tapping adults on the leg and saying, I have an issue. And the Democrats run off in the wrong direction, like Monty Python when the starter pistol goes off. But here's Dr. Eric Cuban.
Make no mistake about it, this is not gender-affirming care we're talking about. This is gender-denying care. These children have a delusion that is very similar to anorexia. And what we learned with anorexia is that you don't treat it with liposuction. The treatment these kids need is love and kindness and psychotherapy. What they don't need is surgical mutilation and hormones.
Isn't that amazing? And a great and appropriate analogy, I think. A little girl comes to you and says she has bulimia, where you stick your fingers down your throat or a little plastic spoon and you throw up your food because you're afraid of getting fat, or anorexia, where you just don't eat anything, and say, well, I need to be skinnier. And your diagnosis is, your prescription is that liposuction is just the thing for you. That way you'll be thinner. And his point is a brilliant point, I believe, because it demonstrates that what they have adopted, the left, what they have adopted is the opposite of what we should be doing with children. And the only reason children are saying these things is because Democrats are promoting it, right? Now, I looked up Dr. Eric Cuban. He was removed from the State Board of Medicine by the governor when he publicly backed banning transgender surgeries on children. Isn't this extraordinary? May 29th of 2024, a top radiologist is kicked off the State Board of Medicine by the governor when he publicly backed banning transgender surgeries, just the surgeries now, not other treatments, for children, because Democrats are hell-bent on genital mutilation for confused children. Dr. Eric Cuban was removed after he lobbied members of the Wyoming legislature. He urged lawmakers to support a ban on transgender surgeries for minors, but only for minors. Governor Mark Gordon forced his resignation despite signing the ban into law. Kind of a peculiar story. And Wyoming, no less. Man, the left is infecting everything. They're like monkeypox. They're everywhere. A top Wyoming doctor has been kicked off the state's Board of Medicine after he publicly backed a ban on transgender surgeries just for children. Now, how about getting tattoos? Let me just ask any liberal. Should every 12-year-old be able to decide to get tattoos on their face? In Maryland, you have to be 18 years old to go to a tanning salon. But the left likes to punish everyone, you know. Dr. Eric Cuban, the son of a former congresswoman and leading radiologist in the city of Casper, Wyoming, was booted from the board by Republican Governor Mark Gordon last month after he urged state lawmakers to back the ban on genital mutilation for children, which they call transgender surgery for children. Now, you turn 18, you want to mutilate your own genitals, knock yourself out. You want to get your face covered with tattoos of demons that are rattling around inside your head, then that's your right to do so. But as a child, just amazing. The move was triggered by an email the doctor sent to 62 members of the Wyoming legislature in February, where he lobbied for them to support the Children Gender Change Prohibition Bill. So I guess he's not allowed to have an opinion or to lobby, and the Republican governor of Wyoming, our country is circling the drain. We really, really are. The legislation bans Wyoming physicians from providing transgender surgeries and treatments for minors, and would allow the Board of Medicine to revoke a doctor's license if they offer gender-affirming care to children. And then the Democrats define gender-affirming care as irreversible drug treatments and genital mutilation by way of surgery. Isn't that amazing? What a world it is. Boy, I tell you. We still haven't gotten to a lot of audio that we want to get to, but let me grab a phone call because let's go to, I don't know where in Illinois, let's go to Margot, calling from the great state of Illinois. Margot, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Chris. I just want to say, as a mom of 3, what do children want more than anything else in the world? All children. They want attention. And they figured out this is how to get it. As soon as they say they're dysphoric, oh my gosh, they've got the teachers, they've got the doctors, they've got all this attention that they never had before. If parents would give their kids attention instead of sitting in front of a TV or a computer screen or their phone, they would forget about this nonsense immediately.
Have you seen any of this in your real life? This gender,
try to get attention. No, I have not. I have not seen any child ever
Good.
that with my kids, their friends, none of it. I've seen children, however, steal to get attention. I've seen them hurt animals. I've seen them do all kinds of things to get attention. Never this. So this is like an extreme form of trying to get attention, but it's working for them because they get the counselor, the teacher, the doctor. They get so much attention, and maybe their parents even pay attention at this point. Who knows? But this is what it is. You got to pay attention to your kids. You got to listen to what they're saying. When they come home from school and they tell you that George Washington's a liar, you got to know the teacher's telling them that, and there's like a plan afoot to program the children. So, listen to everything they say. There's a purpose to what these teachers are doing. And if you're not listening, you're going to miss a lot, and they're going to take your kid and do what they want with it.
Yeah. You are correct, Margot. I think that's a very succinct and maternal assessment and correct assessment of what we're looking at here, if not in every single instance, then certainly in the overwhelming majority of instances. And Margot, we've seen a lot of these gender transformation. You can't transform your gender. You can just, mangle your body in myriad ways, but you can't become a man if you're a girl, and you can't become a woman if you're a boy. You can just cause damage to yourself physically and psychologically. And the Democrats seem to be all in favor of that extraordinary stuff. But the cry for attention and the cry for help, I think, is right on the money. And again, and the doctor made a great point, didn't he, Dr. Cuban, that if you have a girl or a boy with bulimia, the remedy is not liposuction.
Exactly. And here's the other thing, though. They should let the children be children. Why are they focusing on their libido at the age of third grade? This is ridiculous that they have them so focused on their libido. They should be worrying about math, reading, writing, and arithmetic still by third grade, and they're starting to focus them on their libido. This is so unhealthy. We have gone for millennia where people have figured out about their libido by the time they're 20 years old, almost 100% of the population. And now they think they need all this help. This is ridiculous. They are just focusing them away from the things that would create, cancer solvers. Instead, they're focusing them on something that will never solve anything, and will just create problems for them once they realize they've gotten as much attention as they're going to get from this.
Yeah, and we're seeing more and more people that have gone through this changing their minds and saying, now I want to transition back, and that can be impossible.
Right. Good luck with that. Poor kid.
Yeah, poor kids. They should sue the DNC.
Yeah, it's really child abuse in its most evil form.
It honestly is.
We've never seen anything like it.
We've never seen anything like it. Margot, thank you. I hope things are still relatively normal in Illinois.
Oh, yeah, they're stealing all the elections. They're embezzling all the elections like crazy. I'm sure Trump will win, and I'm sure he won't get the win in Illinois. There's a lot of us here, but,
Wow.
They have it so built into the system, all the ways that they embezzle the election. And I don't really ever say steal, because when you steal something, you just take something. When you embezzle, you figure out every which way from Sunday to get a bit, to take money out of a business or value out of a business, and that's what they've done here with the elections. Very
interesting. Chicago and Cook County and the 1960 election, John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon, and long history. And the old Joseph P. Kennedy, I'm not paying for a landslide here. The stories are legend, and Democrats have laughed about them and bragged about them for generations now. And now they pretend like, what? Voting irregularities here? Come on. Make the lie big enough. Margot, wonderful call. Thank you very much. Very nice talking to you. This month marks 2 years since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. But last year, 2023, more than 1 million abortions in the United States of America, the highest number since 2012, more than a decade. Democrats are wrong again. And the abortion pill accounting for the majority of those. It's no surprise. Preborn is a great organization, standing strong for women in crisis and babies at risk. Preborn is a ministry of compassion, showers women and babies with love, providing free ultrasounds to mothers with unplanned pregnancies. And it turns out when a mother sees her baby on an ultrasound and hears the heartbeat, with the ultrasound, dum, 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 the mother is typically twice as likely to choose life. And $28 sponsors one ultrasound. And $140 helps to rescue 5 unborn babies. Your generous tax-deductible donation will also help provide women who choose life with assistance for up to 2 years. So please give your best gift, whatever you can give. To donate, all you have to do is dial pound 250 on your cell phone, and when prompted, give the keyword baby. That's pound 250, the keyword is baby, or go online to preborn.com/plant. That's me, preborn.com/PLANTE. Alejandro Mayorkas, I've got Jim Acosta talking to his pal Alejandro Mayorkas about their illegal aliens murdering and raping everybody, and they downplay it. They like to downplay it very much because the media and the Democrats, they're pro-crime and pro-criminal.
Another Biden migrant was arrested for the savage murder of an innocent American woman, Rachel Morin, 37 years old, mother of 5, beautiful woman. Nice woman, everybody loved her. If I was president, he would never have been able to come in. He would have never been able to come in.
He's right, of course. And the Rachel Morin murdered, mother of 5, out for a walk, a hike, getting a little exercise, illegal alien, raped, murdered, fled, was captured in Oklahoma, has now been extradited back to Maryland. I think is being extradited to Maryland today. I heard this morning that the creepy murder boy is on the move back to Maryland. But let me get to a little bit of this because the Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, who's the worst cabinet secretary ever, maybe, was being fluffed by Jim Acosta, whose real name is Abilio, but he's ashamed of his Cuban heritage, so he goes by Jim, which is, not a Cuban name. Remarkable stuff from Democrat Jim Acosta, Abilio Acosta. And he's got Mayorkas on, and they're talking about Rachel Morin, the mother of 5 in Maryland, attacked, raped, murdered, leaving 5 children motherless, a husband as a widower, a family devastated, a community shocked. And Jim Acosta and Alejandro Mayorkas talk about it like it's, somebody left their laundry detergent in the trunk of the car at the grocery store.
Mr. Secretary, I do want to ask you about the murder of this Maryland mother that has been in the news. It's gotten a lot of attention. She was killed last year. An undocumented immigrant was just arrested in her death last week. He's suspected of multiple crimes since he crossed the border illegally in early 2023. Obviously, we know that the studies show that undocumented immigrants don't commit more crimes statistically than native-born U.S. citizens.
Really?
But what do you say to critics who blame the administration for allowing something like this to happen? Yeah, obviously, this is something that you hear in right-wing media all the time.
Right-wing media and in left-wing media, they constantly tell you. Now, it's true that immigrants to the United States don't commit crimes at a higher rate than native-born Americans. As for illegal aliens, well, that's another metric altogether. And the Democrats and the reporting on that is very limited. And what is available is suspect because there are Democrats very often involved in the chain of custody. They like to use chain of custody. And finding reliable data on illegal. Let's start with this. You came into the country illegally. You committed a crime. The first thing you did when you set foot across the border was you committed a crime. That's crime number 1. And then every day when you wake up in the country illegally, that's crime numbers 2, 3, 4, 5. And every day is a crime. That's a reality. Now, we've also been flooded since Joe Biden came in lately, with gang members from Venezuela, gang members from Colombia, gang members, cartel members from Mexico. We've got human traffickers, child sex traffickers, drug traffickers, more than 100,000 fatal drug overdoses every year in the United States, a number greater than the number of Americans that were killed in the Vietnam War, the Korean War, and post-9/11 wars combined every year just in 1 year. But never mind that. And the number of crimes committed by illegal aliens just that we've seen in the last month is off the charts. But if you think you're getting your news from CNN, you can go around quoting Jim Acosta. And it is true that legal immigrants to the United States are practically crime-free. They commit crimes at a very low rate. They've adopted the United States, gone through all of the processes, checked boxes. My best girl and I were out night before last with a friend who is from Peru, which is a country in South America. And he is, and we've known him for nearly a decade, I'd say. Probably 8 years we've known him. And we hadn't seen him for a while, ran into him day before yesterday, and like, hey, let's go have a beer. And 10 minutes later, we're having a beer. And a great guy. And we were talking about this and that, and we didn't bring anything up. He started talking about immigration, and he's for mass deportations. We'd known him for a long time. We'd never really talked politics. And he's saying that Eddie has a thick accent. He's clearly not a native-born American. He's been here for more than 10 years. He's talking about bringing his family in and his sister and her kids. And he's talking about doing everything legally and how long and complicated, the process is. And we have another friend who's also Peruvian, brought his mother in and all that, and doing everything the legal way. And he was becoming a little bit irate and talking about deporting all these people and how they give him a bad name. They reflect negatively on him and on his family. And he resents, and he's literally talking about they come in and they get all this free stuff that we never asked for, we never wanted, we never got. And that this is so, and I don't even think he's a citizen yet, but he is furious with what's going on. And he is in favor of mass deportations, which, according to a new CBS News poll, the majority of Latin Americans living in the United States, Latinos, or Latinx, as Joe Biden refers to them, a majority of Latinos now in the United States favor mass deportations, not just deportations, but mass deportations. And if we had control over our border, it's quite possible that Rachel Morin would not have been raped and murdered while taking a walk in her neighborhood for exercise by an illegal alien criminal from El Salvador who is charged with a long list of other crimes that Jim Acosta is just glossing over because it's everybody knows illegal aliens commit crime at a lower rate than, that's a lot of bourgeois for a variety of reasons. Alejandro Mayorkas was sitting there, and Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas doesn't follow the news and doesn't care about human life.
First and foremost, of course, our hearts break for the children, the family, the loved ones, the friends.
Of who?
Of the individual who was murdered, the woman, the mother.
You don't know her name. He doesn't know. Her name is Rachel Morin. Say her name. Say her name. When, you're a drug dealer, Mall, and your boyfriend shoots a cop when he comes through the door, then the left chants and screams, say her name, say her name. I'm not even going to say her name because she got shot in a shootout between her boyfriend and the police, who were serving a legal drug warrant because of the young woman's involvement with her drug dealer ex-boyfriend because, just amazing stuff. So Mayorkas, the woman, whatever her name is, he doesn't care. Her name is Rachel Morin. Say it. And Jim Acosta doesn't say her name because, I guess they don't know her name. Alejandro Mayorkas.
A criminal is responsible for the criminal act.
The illegal alien?
The criminal who committed this heinous act
that you let in
should be held accountable.
Oh, too
to
late.
The fullest extent of the law.
Oh, there's a good idea.
Forcefully so. That is my response.
That is my response. Yeah, I don't know her name, and I just give this kind of, generic answer that I'm for good and bad. Reminds me of the, I don't think we even have it anymore in our collection, but Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who famously, he was asked a question and, what he's in favor of. He said, I'm for good things for everyone, bad things for no one. That's a pretty good answer. He's in politics, I guess. So this criminal murderer animal. And now we're going to spend millions of dollars because Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas open border policies, and the Democrats open border policies. Not only is Rachel Morin a dead woman who was murdered, and her 5 children don't have a mother because their mother was murdered by an illegal alien. Just amazing stuff. But now we're going to spend millions of dollars dealing with the criminal murderer, Victor Martinez Hernandez, 23 years old, from El Salvador. And he was arrested at a sports bar in Oklahoma, believe it or not, and taken into custody there. And then it was discovered that he's the guy. And he's the home invasion in Los Angeles with the mother and the 9-year-old girl who he assaulted. He's accused of multiple crimes across the country. He is a one-man crime wave, and he wouldn't have been in the country and this woman would be alive, because policies have consequences and elections have consequences. Speaking of which, there is a story that popped yesterday about the Washington, D.C. Capitol Hill employee who makes $90,000 a year and proudly posted that he's having his $8,000 student loan paid off by the federal government. He makes $90,000 a year, and he's had this student loan for ages and ages, $8,250. And this guy, Ben Kamens, just got a call to let me know my student debt has been canceled. This is why elections matter. Yeah, you're right about that. Thanks, Joe Biden. And he posted the picture of his student debt being paid off. Just amazing stuff. $8,250. And 14 years he's had this student loan, and he hasn't paid it off. And now I'm paying for it, and you're paying for it. And he works for the government and makes $90,000 a year, but he can't pay off his student loan, which is $589 a year. And he can't pay it off on his $90,000 a year government salary. So we're paying it off. And he says that's why elections matter. And they're buying votes. Here it is right here. It's like giving a crackhead a rock of crack to vote for you on election day, because free stuff. This is why elections matter. Because the government sent me and a bunch of it's other people's money. And I'm benefiting from corruption from a left-wing government buying my votes. Now, let's get back to soundbite number 7, because the mother of the murdered mother of 5, Rachel Morin, the mother who was murdered, her mother is Patty Morin, coincidentally has the same last name, Patty Morin.
It's a senseless death. I mean, who would expect almost 2,000 miles from the southern border, somebody coming from another country, coming into our small town, and just randomly attacking someone and brutally murdering them? It's like we've opened our doors and you let a stranger into your house.
Yeah, that is precisely what it's like on a national level. It's national sovereignty, and we should control our borders. A nation without borders is not a nation at all. It is just a landmass and nothing more. And we are being invaded and overrun. And the Democrat Party is the prime driver here behind all of this. Senator Rand Paul talking about these murders, these rapes. Again, a 13-year-old girl attacked by an illegal alien from Ecuador in Queens, New York City, kidnapped by this lunatic who walked her and a 13-year-old boy way into the woods, tied them up with shoelaces. And then we learned today that, and maybe last night, that the creepy rapists from Ecuador, where my best girl and I have been on vacation, pulled out his phone while he was raping her and videotaped made video of the sexual assault. Senator Rand Paul.
The problem is this. We have people coming in who are criminals. They're being released from prisons in Venezuela and different places. The killer of Laken Riley, the most recent murder of the woman with 5 children that was murdered from a guy from El Salvador who's already wanted for murder down there. So there's not just the domestic crime problem that Biden's letting into our country, but if you watch the reports of people being interviewed across the border, where are you from? Egypt. Where are you from? Tajikistan. Where are you from? All over the place. China, all over the world. And they're just marching up, and Biden's giving them parole.
Yeah, and this creepy 23-year-old murderer, Victor Martinez Hernandez, is, as Rand Paul said, wanted in El Salvador for another murder and a home invasion in Los Angeles, and on and on. And the Democrats would yell at me for saying out loud what is going on. Just extraordinary. Now, the creepy illegal alien charged with raping the 13-year-old girl in New York, being interviewed by the police, said, "I was nervous at first raping her in the woods. Then I got comfortable and recorded it." So there's video in his phone. Senator Rand Paul.
So Biden is judge and jury on this. President Biden looks at these people and says, "Oh, where are you from? Egypt." He says, "Here's your parole ticket. Come back and see me in about 4 or 5 years and we'll determine whether we're going to let you in the country. But in the meantime, here's a plane ticket. You can go somewhere. Where do you want to go? Anywhere in the U.S."
Amazing. Now, the district attorney in Queens, New York, one of the 5 boroughs of New York City, her name is Melinda Katz. She held a press conference yesterday about the Ecuadorian rapist of the 13-year-old girl, kidnapping, and on and on.
People are alleging that he approached the young couple, 2 13-year-old kids, tied them up, put a gag in their mouth, raped the young woman, and asked them to stay there for 20 minutes while he, I guess, left. But at the end of the day, he is remanded into custody. He has those charges pending. He has waived his 180.
California has 1/3 of the nation's welfare recipients. More than 1/5 of the population lives below the poverty line. They have nearly half of the nation's homeless population, all in California. Amazing. And San Francisco is now officially the worst-run city in America. They're promoting their cold weather to bring in tourists because of climate change. It's hey, it's not hot here. It's always cold here. Let's, gosh, I've got so little time, but let's grab Matt calling from Rockville, Maryland. Matthew, I'm sorry I've got little time for you, but I wanted to get you in.
Sure. How you doing, Chris?
Great.
So when Mayorkas was talking about, the illegal immigrant who is here, why is it when there's a gun crime, they want to come out and talk about taking away guns from everyone who is perfectly legally owning them and not committing crimes? But when it's an illegal alien who commits a crime, well, that's just the individual. So why is there such a dichotomy between criminal acts that are done? One castigates an entire population of people who are doing things legally, and one ignores the other group of people who are actually here illegally.
That is an excellent point, very succinctly put.